And so our third and final set of drills are kettlebell renegade rows and split lunge jumps. We're going to take a look at the renegade rows first. Kettlebell renegade rows, again, as with all kettlebell drills, are excellent total body movement. Probably one of the more underutilized, but very, very beneficial across the board. Let's take a look at one of the key mishaps that many people run into with the kettlebell renegade row. Before we get into too much of it, basically what the kettlebell renegade row looks like is setting up in a push-up position, holding on to the kettlebells and performing rowing motion. Or really many people go awry and achieve some discomfort or even pain to that is they lose their grip. Like we talked about earlier, the grip in almost all drills is absolutely critical to giving us not only good strength production but good stability. What we don't want to see is we don't want to see the wrist cave in as such. That's the improper position. What we need to do is get in a good solid position, nice firm grip. This not only allows us to stay in good position for the row, but it also allows us to get good alignment and allows the bony structure of the skeleton to help kind of support us during this movement. So let's take a look at what this looks like real quickly. These are not terribly heavy bells, but because we're simply chopping a leg basically out from underneath the table, the demand of this drill is exponentially increased because of that simple facet. Not only through the rowing action, but through the entire body. Just like we talked about in pressing, I'm going to have to make my entire body as absolutely rigid and contracted as possible while allowing that arm, whichever one it may be, to go ahead and row that kettlebell properly up and then replace it back to the ground. So let's take a look at it. I'm going to get myself in good position. I'm going to extend my leg behind me. Not too wide a foot stance. I'm going to grip off on my grip real firmly on my down hand. And see, that was pretty demanding. I did a pretty good job. These are not heavy. These are 25-pound kettlebells. I'm a little fatigued at the current point in the day that we're in, but that being said, you're going to be able to get a pretty good workout. You don't need a massive 80-pound bell like I have sitting here behind me, or even the 62 as has said over there and showed earlier. The other aspect we want to really look at here as far as improper technique is getting into a high hips position as such and trying to row from here, or also skewing back and forth. Neither one of those are very viable. Depending on the brand of kettlebell that you're buying, most of them have adjusted this a little bit as of late, but you want something which has been a challenge for the women and those that are a little bit weaker sometimes to do with this type of movement is the smaller the kettlebell, the base of the kettlebell has actually been smaller. Most companies have kind of shifted and evened this out a little bit because obviously that base of support, the narrower it is, the more difficult it maintains itself. When you chop that leg out by performing that row and then have only a small surface area to support yourself on. So most places have corrected that, so that's what you have. If you find that you can't perform a proper renegade row, I'm going to give you one substitution real quickly, and I'll let you take a look at it as I set it up here. What you're going to want to do is give yourself a little bit of an elevation, okay, with the opposite side. I've got a box here that's approximately the same elevation as my kettlebell, so I'm going to place one hand on the box while I get the other hand on the bell, and I'm still here. Obviously then you'll just alternate sides. This just allows a little more stable platform for those of you that really have a difficult time or have a hard time transitioning into this drill. It's a really great progression step to allow you to kind of work on the proper firing mechanisms that it's going to take to perform a true renegade row. Okay? Last drill, very common. Many of you have probably done this. Simply a split lunge jump. This is an explosive lunging movement, alternating back and forth. This is usually done in timed work sits, which I believe it is done in day 2 as well. I'm going to do a couple of them, then I'm going to come back and talk to you about a couple of tricks that people get, especially as fatigue, because this drill really allows you to accumulate fatigue in a very fast item, which makes it really excellent for those of you looking for fat loss, and that's kind of why I put it in at the end of this day. I kind of like to put a little bit of what I call a finisher in most of my programming. We're going to set up in a good bottom lunge position. I've got to have some, I'm going to show you this way first. I've got to have flex in my knee and hip in order to make this work. And I'm just going to explode up and off, up and off, up and off. Okay, pretty simple drill. A couple things where people go wrong. As they get fatigued, they don't want to give any flex. The less flex you have, the less ability you have to come up and rotate. Also, you can see my trunk stays pretty much right over my hips. Not leaning forward, not leaning back or gyrating. You want to keep that trunk nice and solid. I'm going to give you a few more repetitions so you can see what I'm talking about. As you can see, I land, controlled, nice, quiet, soft landing. Use the leg muscle to lower myself back down and explode back up, alternating legs in between. Again, this is an intermediately advanced type of drill, but it should be pretty easily transitioned to by most people. So this has been the Kettlebell Unleashed programming for day number 2. It's been a little snapshot on some of the coaching techniques and kind of how the drills are kind of meshed together. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, my name is Troy Anderson. I'm the owner of Anderson Training Systems. Have a great day.